Welcome, everyone, to Hands On Politics. It's Ken and Rich here, your brothers from the Bronx, talking about politics, trying to make politics understandable for those who want to understand politics. Here are our smiling faces. Ken, it's good to be back with you. I'm still out here in Colorado. I know you've been out and about yourself, but you're back in the Georgia area. It's good to see you this week. Lot happening as always, and you some family stuff, and it sounds like you guys had a good time.
Yeah, I went on a long weekend, took a long weekend to visit family out there in New York. Got to see our Uncle Ray, Aunt Barbara, 94, 95 years old, respectively. They just look fantastic.
Yeah.
I really hope my genes come from them because, I mean, they could pass for 70. They're in great shape, sharp as can be. It was really good seeing them. Also, our cousin Ray and his wife Barbara were out there, and also our cousin Jerry.
Yeah.
We had a great time talking about old times, talking about 238th Street and where they grew up, and talked a little bit about Minnesota, and talked about the whole family. Got an update on the whole family.
Yep.
So that was great. And then the next day, that was on Friday. On Saturday, we went to see our Aunt Dot, who lives in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, her husband just passed away. And so I was really glad we had a chance. I went there with Trisha and Chris and Philip, and we had a really, really nice time with Aunt Dot.
Awesome.
Again, great shape, sharp as can be. But we had a really nice time, had lunch with her. And then the rest of the weekend spent time with Trisha, Kenny, her family, and Chris. And just had an outstanding time. And we really do have a fantastic family, loving, smart, funny, just good people. So I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I missed it. I'm out here in Colorado visiting just my sister-in-law, Just sister, and her husband, Rob, and my niece, Megan, and we were just having a wonderful time. Taylor was able to spend some time because Meg just graduated from a consolidated or a condensed nursing program because she already has her BS degree in biology. So she just added a very intense year, and she became an RN, and she hopes to move on after a couple of years of being an RN to go out and be a nurse. Anesthetist, the ones
Anesthetist.
they take care, they put you under when you're, yes. So that's her goal, and she's on her way, and it's fun to be out here. It is a time zone change, which is, it's a couple hours earlier out here. So I got to keep that in mind when I'm conversing with people back east.
So is this your plan for your, during your retirement to cover your health care? You made sure your son became a doctor, and now one of your nieces is a nurse. So you're not going to have to pay anything for your health care.
Well,
is that what the plan was?
That's what the plan is. We've already talked about, buying or building a group home where we can put a handful of us old people, and then they won't have to travel as far to come take care of us, and change the whole nursing. No more nursing homes, big ones. We're just going to have our own little fancy one somewhere nice.
I like it. I like it.
Or we'll have it in the camper. We'll all just go camping somewhere. So let's why don't we start out, Ken? It was very unfortunate death of the director, actor, Rob Reiner, and his wife. Allegedly, his son, who has had very difficult addiction problems, has been arrested for the deaths of his parents, and it's a really, really sad situation. Any family dealing with addiction and then mental health issues like that. And, he seemed to be, Rob Reiner, as far as, you take out the politics, he seems like a very nice guy. And People around him seemed to like him. He was very successful, had some great
Hmm.
movies.
Yep.
I remember him in his first when he was Meathead, and he was a good actor there. Used to enjoy All in the
Oh
Family.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, but it was a sad, sad incident, and from the political perspective, the president chose to tweet about it, and it definitely was not the president's best moment as far as that goes. He focused on, I think, Trump derangement syndrome or whatever, and it caused a lot of rift in the supporter community of President Trump, and there's been a couple of camps about it, and so I have my thoughts, Ken, but what are your thoughts about um, the president speaking out about it and the way he spoke out about it? Do you have any thoughts about it yourself? I think people are all over the board on this, but what do you have to say?
Well, I guess, first of all, the situation obviously tragic. Just as a
Absolutely.
parent, I know if I had a child who had drug addiction or any problem, that would be heartbreaking. And I feel for anybody who has that situation. And um, so in this case, his son apparently had such mental health issues that, ends up killing his parents. I mean, that is just so
Tragic.
tragic on so many levels. I feel terrible for him. I feel terrible. Nobody wishes this on anybody.
Nope.
Um, and I would never say anything critical of a person who just passed away. I would tell my children not, that's just not what you do. And so, yeah, I didn't want Donald Trump to do that. Uh, and I wish he wouldn't do it because we have so many things to be working on. So we can't be sidetracked with silly things like this. Having said that, Rob Reiner, yeah, called Trump a cockroach, mentally unfit for office, a threat to democracy, a criminal, a liar, compared him to Hitler, compared him to Nazis. He actually called his followers like you and me, not I shouldn't say followers. I should not that I'm a follower,
No,
but
the
I
people
voted
who
for
vote
him.
for him. Yeah.
People who vote for him. He said we are kind of like Hitler and sort of like Nazis. And so um and so I think that's where Trump is coming from. He looks at and so imagine some guy treating you like dirt, a
Hmm.
very public person, which Rob Reiner was a public
Oh
person,
yeah.
and so he said a lot of nasty, nasty things about Trump. Again, for me personally, I wouldn't have said anything, but it's really hard for me to criticize Trump for being critical of Rob Reiner because of all the nasty things that Rob Reiner said about him. And Trump gets this all the time.
Yep.
I mean, all the time he's called the most vile things in the world. And so I'm not saying that justifies it, but I guess I sort of understand. I still wish he wouldn't do it, but I'd also say people on our side of the aisle who are critical of Trump. Okay, I can appreciate that, but I really have a hard time with the people on the right, on the left, like Hillary Clinton, who called us deplorable,
Uh-huh.
Joe Biden, who talked about us being garbage. I really have a hard time with those people trying to take the moral high ground
Yep.
and criticizing Trump for what he said about Rob
Mhm.
Reiner because these people are not without their own problems.
Yeah. And those were the same people that wished that that bullet, that the assassin's bullet had moved a half inch the other way.
That's right.
They wish death upon this man because they hate him with such passion
Hmm.
that we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the president. Um, and would I be the bigger man? I think I would be, but I don't know that, I haven't been attacked for the last 10 years. They haven't tried to bankrupt me.
Yes.
They
Good point.
haven't, tried to bankrupt my family. They haven't tried, they haven't
Put you
raided.
in prison. They didn't try to put you in prison for rape
Yeah.
for something that happened 30 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
wasn't even, it was just a made up story, Jean Carroll, whatever her name is. And so you have to put it in, everything has to be in context. But what bothers me about some of the criticism from the people who voted for Trump, they almost used the opportunity as a virtue signal to say, oh, you know what? That's why I'm not a MAGA person. I may have voted for the president and I support some of his policies, but I'm not MAGA. And that confuses me because I don't know what they mean by, because MAGA is simply make America great again. Do you
Mhm.
not support making America great again? So
Mhm.
some of these Republicans that we would consider very, very moderate, some people, rhinos, but most of the rhinos, they didn't vote for Trump. But the people who held their nose and they consider consider themselves establishment, they kind of, this is why I'm not MAGA. That kind of throws me off. It's like I completely separate Trump's personal flaws,
Mhm.
some of the things that he says that I wish he wouldn't say, and his continual attack on people that have attacked him. Um, I completely separate that from what's impacting me politically.
Mhm.
So I support the president, closing the border,
Yeah.
getting a handle on inflation, tariffs that are making bringing jobs back to America.
Mhm.
We just recently had the jobs report where it beat expectations, but the good news is we're losing federal jobs more than we ever did, and we're gaining private sector jobs,
Mhm.
which is where we want the economy to be. And that's what's going to drive down inflation as well. It's going to cut back on spending. So for me, this kind of thing, is it cringeworthy? Yeah, because that would not be me. We come from different
Yeah.
stock. Again, we're not attacked all day. Um, so, but the whole I'm not MAGA, I don't understand that. I consider it's one of those things that it's almost derogatory, and that there's this thing where there are people that these establishment folks think would jump off the bridge for Trump, and I'm not sure that there's that many of them.
Mm-mm.
I think the right is just sick and tired of politicians saying they're going to do something and not doing it, and Trump is the
Mhm.
guy that's doing it, and they're going to stand by him until he stops doing what he says he's going to
Mhm.
do. And so that's what I think MAGA is. MAGA are the people that look at policy first. They look at
Mhm.
how this impacts their life, not whether it feels good or it just is cringy. It's like, I'm going to support him when I like his policies.
Mhm.
And there are policies that I know I'm not going to like, and he's already done some things. Especially, you had mentioned it earlier when we were talking, Ken, having troops in the Middle East still. In Syria, we had
Mhm.
some soldiers get killed there. What the hell are we doing there? Get the hell out.
Yeah.
Let's get out of there. So,
Mm.
so to the point of the tweet, it is what it is. Rob Reiner hated Trump. Trump hated Reiner.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said it that early. He could have waited a few days. But it's kind of a story that'll fall out. But it gives the left something to do.
Yeah. And in terms of priorities
Yeah.
of what the things that I care about, this story and Donald Trump sending out this tweet is right above me wanting the White House to change the font they use on their press releases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really could almost care less about it. Now, having said that, it is easy to get sidetracked.
Hmm.
And things like this, we have day-to-day battles that are taking place, and we just have to make sure that we're not losing the sight of what our ultimate goals are. So, you talked a little bit about it. Um, with Trump, I care about a powerful military and all secure borders, deporting illegals, free markets, low taxes, low regulation, stable prices. Government, I want it to be limited. I want federalism where federal, state, and local governments have power, unique powers. Education, I want them teaching reading, writing, STEM. I don't want them teaching about, all these strange social issues. I don't want them teaching liberal ideologies. And so these things kind of take us off track a little bit,
Hmm.
but we got to stay focused. We got to keep moving the ball down the field. I'll use an analogy. I remember working for UPS for many years as an office manager in finance or accounting or investor relations. Every day you had a plan. Every week you had a plan. Every month you had a plan. Annually you had a plan. And you have phone calls that come in. You have people who stop by your office. You have emails, instant messages. You have all these things that are taking your focus off of what you need to do. Now, those things, you need to deal with them. You need to
Hmm.
answer them, but it's a problem if they take you off your ultimate goal.
Yep.
If after a week is over, you just say, well, I answered all these emails, I answered all these phone calls, but I didn't get to where I needed to be, that's where it's a problem. And I just really hope, and I do think Trump is able to compartmentalize things. I don't think this will take him off track. Um, but also, I guess maybe the bigger point I'm trying to make here is, as a supporter of Trump, I do support him like you're talking about because where he's taking this country.
Hmm.
We had 4 years that were a disaster, and
Yep.
then 8 years during Biden, which was a disaster. And I'm going to support Trump because he's fixing a lot of the problems that we had out there.
Yep.
I wish he wouldn't do these little stupid things, but I'm going to support him as long as it, like to your point, and that's an important point, as long as he's doing the right thing. Because once he stops doing what we want him to do, I'm no longer a Trump supporter.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
not, I don't love Donald Trump for the sake of loving Donald
No.
Trump. I love his policies.
Absolutely. He's a man of his word, and
Hmm.
that's when the rubber hits the road, we're constitutionalists, and the country has moved so far from constitutional republic, but there's glimmers of hope when you have somebody like Donald Trump that slows down the undermining of the principles of our country. And, you got to support the person who's getting you at least part of the way where you want to be.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he, it's few and far between where you get politicians who campaign on one thing and follow through on that thing. And he's one of the very rare breeds that we have out there, to the point of, where the hell are the Republicans? We are here 11 months in, and the amount of legislation that has been moved in both the House and Senate is abysmal,
Hmm. Hmm.
absolutely abysmal. And I want to remind people this, to the point that the left makes, this isn't a dictatorship. Trump has to work through the Congress. He can only do so much.
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
Congress and this Senate has found so many excuses, so many reasons to not do the right thing, that it's really getting super frustrating. And especially, Ken, little things like Trump trying to get his judges confirmed, and they have this rule or something where they can, a couple of senators can say, you may know the name of this rule. It's some paper thing
Oh
that
yeah.
it's some kind of like gentleman's agreement that if we don't like him, we don't move him forward. And I forget what the name of it is, but those are the things. Grassley is still playing a gentleman's game when we have, the Democrats are playing in the trenches and they're using, warfare. And Grassley's still playing, gin rummy at the country club. And, it's very frustrating. And I forget what it's called. It's, do you,
Um, um, yeah, it should be pulling up. It is. It's like a pink slip.
yeah, so
How about a blue
that's it.
a blue slip?
A blues,
Yeah, a
yeah,
blue colored slip of paper.
yeah. So they use a blue slip to say, "Hey, we really don't want you to move this person forward." Uh, What that's no constitutional basis. No, it's just a gentleman's
That's
agreement.
insane.
It really is.
There's no justification for it.
I know.
It's kind of like the filibuster. I understand why they
Yeah.
do that, and
Yeah.
there's probably some good things about it. This has no redeeming values. And you know what, Rich? Let me just say this. I've heard people refer to some of the judges who have blocked some of what Trump wanted to do. They're like, oh, well, this is a Reagan appointee. Yeah, but it's in Connecticut. So
Yeah.
I can guarantee you Reagan couldn't appoint a conservative. He had to appoint someone that the liberal senators from Connecticut or whatever northeastern state it was, who they were willing to accept.
Yep.
That needs to end like that. That's insane. That
Yesterday,
needs
yeah.
to end right away.
Yep.
There's no redeeming value for that.
Nope. No. And again, it's the Republican. This is why the Trump supporters are so supportive of Trump and so angry at Republicans is they give us the White House, the Senate, and the House, and we'll get this done. We'll get that done. We'll get a budget passed. We'll get health care. We'll get rid of Obamacare, whatever the case might be. What have they done? They're like hiding in the weeds somewhere, letting the president take the hits for whatever he's doing, getting these illegals out of here, ICE. Where are these Republicans? And I just heard today, and we're going to have to confirm this, Ken, that, 4 moderate Republicans voted with all the Democrats to extend the Obamacare subsidies, which is an absolute ridiculous thing to do. That's money going directly to insurance companies, making them wealthier, making healthcare less affordable for everybody. That needs to stop. I hope that I understand why New York Republicans, Pennsylvania Republicans are more moderate. I get that. But you don't vote with the left to get that done. You figure out from the right side of the aisle how to do that without extending subsidies. And there's almost like moderate Republicans have this like self-loathing where they almost want to work with these Democrats to get praise from the media, who hate their guts anyway. The only time it's the McCain syndrome, right? Where you say something bad against Republicans so that you get good media coverage, but they still hammer you any other time when the issue, they support an issue and you don't. So they're no friend to anybody. They're just they're very good at manipulating. So, it's very frustrating.
And just on that, just to drive home that point, I remember John McCain. The liberal media loved John McCain because he was like a Sunday talk show whore. He would go on him all the time, and they'd call him a maverick. And he's willing to work across the aisle, and they loved him until he ran
For
for
president.
president to become
Absolutely.
president.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he became as, toxic as, I don't know, as any Republican, maybe not as toxic as Donald
Trump.
Trump,
Yeah.
but they hated him. So they will gladly use any Republican for, if
Yeah.
the Republican wants to suck up to him, they'll accept it. But once it becomes, once it becomes like an election or things, or an election or passing some legislation, they'll dump that Republican like
Absolutely.
nothing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so we'll see what, like it's the holidays, so now the Republicans have a great excuse, going for the holiday, but as soon as we come back, what's happening. We go right
Yeah.
into the midterm elections, and they're going to all be campaigning. They're going to go out there and, they might do a little bit of legislation in January, February, but then, then all bets are off. And it's just so frustrating. And the way the gaslighting is going right now with the arguments on costs of things,
Uh-huh.
Trump's in that cycle where Reagan was when he took over from the pathetic Carter years that were very high inflation and
Mm-hmm.
stagnation and all that.
Yep.
We're in that same cycle, and Trump is putting in the foundations. We already see it in gas prices. I just filled
Yeah.
up the car coming back from the airport this morning, dropping off my son. It was $2.39 here in
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Colorado. Gotta love it. That is going to bring down prices. But again, grocery store prices are still high. But,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of those understandable moments where inflation never goes down. You got to remember
Yes.
when
Mm-hmm.
inflation went up 9%, that raised prices 9%. And
That's
then
right.
the next time it goes to 2%, it didn't lose seven of those 9%. It
That's
just
right.
is 2% more on top of nine. So it's a cumulative, and we have to understand that the 4
Mm-hmm.
years of Biden increased dramatically, exponentially from a grocery standpoint. And, things are 100% more than they were because, items like, you just name it, pasta went from 89 cents a box to $1.89 a box.
Yep.
So, because of those types of inflationary policies, and people are still feeling that,
Mm-hmm.
and people have no patience. And I get it. When you win the election, you tell people you're bringing down prices. You better set the expectation properly. And Trump was like day one. And I used to sit and watch, and my wife would say he needs to stop saying day one because he's setting a really poor expectation. And she was right. But we're moving in
Yeah.
the right direction, which is $3,000 was taken out of our pockets from inflation due to Bidenism, Bidenomics, and now we've gotten back 1,000 of that. We're still 2,000 net loss,
Mm-hmm.
but we're moving in the right direction. Now, do you want to give the reins back to the party that set you up for that inflationary chaos? Absolutely not. But people are very fickle. They
Mm-hmm.
don't pay attention unless they're listening to us right here. You listen to the media; they are just hammering the Republicans and Trump on the prices. And
Mm-hmm.
they're good at that. They're really good messengers. And I know Trump has done some stuff to talk about. He's going to be talking tonight about it. And Vance is out there talking about it. But where the heck are all the Republicans? It's just so frustrating, Ken. I can't.
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I know. I have absolutely no idea where the Republicans are. And I also think another problem that's going to come up is there's still some more uh, budgetary items that are going to need to be passed come January. So we're going to be messing with that in January also. But when it comes to inflation, it is so annoying to me. And the Democrats get away with it because of the media. The media is just an arm of the Democratic Party, because what the Democrats say is they say prices have never been higher, which is true
Absolutely.
because prices always, always go up.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing, we wouldn't be talking about it if prices didn't increase by, 20% during the Biden administration.
Exactly.
And actually, for me personally, like the statistics will say prices went up between 2021 and 2025 by about 20%. But my lifestyle, they've gone up much, much higher.
Absolutely.
And I'm retired. I'm on a pension. My pension is not tied to the cost of living. So Joe Biden, through his policies, his print money and spend and give it to everybody while you're shutting down the economy, just cost me, just take my check, take 25% off of it.
Yep.
And that's the life I'm living now. But they don't like to talk about that. They like to say prices have never been higher, again, which is true. But instead of having 9% and a total of 25% inflation during the Biden administration, we're going to experience, I don't know what we're experiencing right now, 3.5% inflation. I don't know. But it's such a lie, and it's so disingenuous of them to criticize Trump for this, and for the media not to say, well, yeah, it's higher than it's ever been. However, when Biden came into office, it was here. Now it's here, and then it was here when he left. But now when Trump is in office, it's here. So yes, it's higher, but it's only a tiny bit higher. So it's very frustrating. It's the way it is. We have a liberal media. If you watch the media, if you watch ABC, NBC, CBS, you're not only not getting the right information, you are being lied to, and it'll cause you to come to the wrong conclusions, on issues. But yeah, there's nothing that frustrates me more than the inflation. But, earlier we talked a little bit about, Trump needs to keep moving forward. If you think about, I want a powerful military. Biden didn't want a powerful military. He wanted a weak military. Secure borders? No, he wanted open borders. Free markets? No, he wanted a government-led economy. He wanted bigger government. He didn't want federalism. He wanted to teach kids in school, whatever. They have 25 different genders. So the Democrats are taking this one issue and really beating up the Republicans on, but people have to remember what a disaster it was over the last 4 years and all of the insane policies that the Biden administration implemented and pursued. I just hope we have enough smart people that they'll remember it, Rich.
Yeah, no, and it's incumbent on the Republicans to get out there and make the case. It's a national election, but it's also, 435 five. Well, there's, I don't know how many senators, a third of the senators, but 435 different elections out there. So they've got to make the case, and they can't capitulate at all. They've got to go in on this program. They can't say, well, I don't agree with that. You got to agree with it all and go forward, especially when it comes to energy policy.
Oh, yeah.
Freedom of the markets, tariffs, bringing back jobs. And, they keep going after tariffs for this or that. I think tariffs are the reason that we're building so many factories in this country. And that again is laying foundation, but it doesn't happen overnight. Are you near an airport?
I have somebody doing work at my house. Hopefully he finishes pretty soon.
I love it. But
you want to keep on going forward?
Sure. He'll stop.
Okay.
So
I'm going to try to end, see if there's background noise that I can that I can take out. No, I don't have it.
That's
It shouldn't last too long.
That's live TV, right? It's I love it. This is
Oh, while you're talking, I can put it.
Oh, now I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm in. That's all right. I'd rather hear the plane buzzing around around over your head. It sounds like one of those, those planes that the little gas-powered planes that people or the
Yeah.
the
Yeah, what it really is we got our bathroom upstairs, the kids' bathroom. We got that redone. And over the years, there was like some dripping. And so our ceiling in our laundry room was kind of coming down. So he's putting that back up.
It sounds like he's taking something down. You better put a
yeah.
Do you have a helmet you can throw on your head there?
Let me say, it's actually an earthquake.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, as far as I kind of lost where we were in the sense of there. The prices are definitely going to start leveling off. Wages are going to get better because the jobs are going to be more. Americans are going to work and decent jobs. So I think there's a lot of good things moving forward, and we just need to stay, as George Bush used to say, stay the course.
Yeah.
And let's see, if in another 2 years you want to make a change, you make a change. But you got to give this president time to turn around the disaster that he was given.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. You have to stay the course. And this is just like you said, this is just like what Ronald Reagan went through. I mean, we had stagflation, so we had high inflation, high unemployment, and so I think it was Paul Volcker, the chairman of the Fed, came in and he said, we got to do something to get prices under control, and so he raised interest rates, and that caused a recession.
Yep.
But that recession only lasted, I don't know how, a year and a half, I don't know. But along with the tax cuts, along with the regulation cuts, and along with a lot of the other things that Reagan did in his third year, that's when it was morning again in America.
Yep.
And I really do expect Trump's policies to do basically the same thing. I mean, he's with the tariffs, and you were talking about how critical people are of the tariffs. The tariffs, we have a situation where it was cheaper for people to build overseas than it is here. And so that's partially because of some of the things that China has going on. And so we're just trying to level the playing field.
Yep.
And so what is that doing? That's bringing jobs back. And it takes a little while, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's taking a little while to shut down those plants over in China, build the plants over here, or modernize the plants over here. I mean, it's happening. We're building.
Yep.
And so you're getting a lot of construction jobs happening, but you're going to start having to fill up those factories with people. So it will take some time, but I'm thoroughly convinced within a year that the economy is just going to be doing fabulous.
Yeah.
So we just have to stay the course. But for the next year, we're going to give the Democrats an opportunity to beat up on Republicans when, the GDP was what in the second quarter, 3.8%, which is really strong.
That's excellent. Yep.
It's excellent. But there's going to be chances for the Democrats to criticize us. And that's where these rhino Republicans, they need to stay the course. They need to not get, weak-kneed and start, I don't know, giving in to what the Democrats are criticizing them for. We need to stay the course, and I think we'll be fine. But we'll see if these rhino Republicans are willing to do that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence, Ken, because they've already, they're already saying, "Oh, we don't have time to to fix healthcare without just extending these subsidies, and they're talking about 2 years. And I'm like, what? This Obamacare needs to be shut down, and we got to move to a new system. And you've been telling us, Republicans, that you've had a plan. Still haven't seen it. Have you seen it,
Yeah.
Ken? The only person ever saying anything about it is Trump saying that he's going to put more money in people's pockets. Now, that's important,
Yep.
but it's not a plan.
Yep.
That's a fundamental principle, is to take the money, give it to the people, let them shop. That's a principle of free markets. Instead of giving subsidies to insurance companies and letting them put 25% to the bottom line before they even provide one bit of health care, and their main goal is to not pay out health care premiums or health care bills for the people who are paying the premiums. That's their goal, is to pay less than what they take in. And I'm no fan of insurance companies in any industry, to be honest. So these Republicans are already showing weak-kneedness, because there are ways to do short-term things that don't include subsidies to the. If you want to forward those subsidies, give them to the people to shop around, and we'll see. Let the insurance companies woo in the customers, so they're going to have to get competitive with each other, or something to that effect. At least try and not fall for the Chuck Schumer garbage and the Hakeem Jeffries garbage that's out there. And again, the Republicans need to make the case, and they've got the Democrats with a solid message of, whether they're lies or not, with the media, who, like you said, is just another wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Rich, I think maybe you should work for the Trump administration, because they really don't have anybody, or for the Republican Party. It is a complicated issue, but I think if you have the right person explaining what the problems are, what solutions we can put in place, we have to be willing to say that. I think what the Democrats do is they're like, oh, everything's going to be free, and they're going to, we have to be willing to say, listen, this is something everybody has to pay for. It's not always going to be easy. I don't like paying $20,000 for a car. I don't like, if my car breaks down, I have to, so we have to have somebody who can explain the system. Explain that we have to pay for it. Explain that sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable, but then also say, but this is the best system we can create. You know what I mean? Like, and I think one of the best spokesmen in the administration is Scott Bessent. I think he does a great job explaining the economy. I think he does a great job handling tough questions. We just need somebody to say, listen, Obamacare didn't work. I mean, clearly
Everybody,
it didn't work.
And the problem is that only 7%, I think it's 7% of the people are in Obamacare. But it's what it does is the way it subsidizes insurance companies, it raises premiums for everybody. The government getting into that piece of the pie, it increases prices generally around around the whole system. And insurance should not be used for preventative care. It would be like having insurance. It's very simple to pay for your brakes, your gas, your windshield wipers, your oil changes. Why would you ever have insurance for that? That's part of maintaining your car. Going to the doctor once a year, getting a blood test, a mammogram, and certain services, that's a standard preventative maintenance for you. There are people that pay $250, $300 a month for their phone bill, but they don't want to pay for health care. And it's like, the Democrats have done, and politicians in general have done a good job to say, well, insurance should pay for that. Well, you know, insurance is paying for it, but they're also covering people that the government says they have to cover, whether or not they have insurance or not. So it's like it's such a convoluted system, and it should be a lot simpler. We need to treat it in different categories. Preventative. Then you have, like personal services that you can purchase them. You want to get Botox, you go ahead, you get Botox, but the insurance company's not paying for that. Or if you want to get, a facelift, or if you want to, even things like, I would even look at that in knee surgery, unless it was an accident. If you're getting a knee because you have just allowed yourself to abuse yourself, why should anybody else be paying for your knee? Now, if you get in an accident and that should start to get into a catastrophic category or a surgical category or whatever. And we pay different amounts for those different areas. And, we just have to start thinking about it differently. And from the other side of the coin, we need doctors to have a price list. We need hospitals to have a price list. So if I go in and, and dentists, eye care, if I go in and I'm going to have a tooth extracted, how much does it cost? It costs you $300. How much does it cost with you? Well, mine's $250, or, whatever. My physical exam includes these services. I do your blood work. I take your, I check your heart. I do a EKG, and that'll cost you $300. You do it once a year. What's $300? I mean, if you think about, if you're paying currently $1,500 to $2,000 a month, you're paying $10,000. Some people are paying $15,000, $17,000 a year for coverage that they don't even use. Why wouldn't you want to pay $300 and pay for a catastrophic plan for $500? Right? Yeah. So you pay the $300 once, and you pay the catastrophic yearly, because that'll go into a pool where, okay, if you do have something, you get in an accident, you break you break 2 legs and an arm, that covers your hospital stay. It covers if you go into intensive care, you have a heart attack, a stroke. Those kind of things should be categorized. And people, that I can see having insurance companies doing that, but let them be specific and say, this plan, if you want to buy it, covers this. It doesn't cover that, but it covers this. And if you're young and healthy and you're willing to take the risk, take the risk. And for young, risk is relative, because me and you, risk is very high when you have a lot of assets and things to lose. When you're young, what are they going to take from you? Right? Yeah. You're starting out, you're renting an apartment, you have a car, so you can take a bigger risk there. And then this will sound funny, but I think there is a place for government for people that can't do for themselves, and for those very, very, very unusual circumstances where, there's truly a situation where people can't afford it. They just don't have the money, and you don't want to bankrupt the system because they're taking care of somebody that truly has a legitimate problem, not just somebody going into the coming here illegally and going into our system. So, it's people don't want to talk about it, but we need to start with some simple things. A price list would be good as well.
Yeah. A couple points. First of all, why were you looking at me when you mentioned Botox and facelift? Because I'm looking at my face. I'm like, I need Botox and I need a facelift. But but, see, you explain it, and I think you do a very good job explaining it, and it's very
It's
complicated. There
super
are
complicated.
things that well, yeah, but there's things that can be done. But I think the real problem with it is that it's so easy to demagogue.
Yes.
The Democrats can, no matter what solution is put in place, the Democrats will just they'll find somebody who's paying more, or they'll find something that's not covered, and they will take that one example or those small examples, and it doesn't matter if it's a much better system, that the system uh won't go bankrupt. Doesn't matter how good it is, the Democrats will just beat up the Republicans left and right for that. And the Democrats like to say, "Oh, we just tax the rich."
Yeah.
They like to use that, like, all you have to do is tax the rich, and then everybody can have free health care. And that's
Mm-mm.
just not true.
Not true at all.
But politically, it's very difficult to fight back against it. And that's why you have these weak-kneed Republicans who just, cave into anything, anytime they're criticized. But we have to do something, because a system where, where everything's paid for, and you're not forcing people to make uh, decisions like, the price list that you're talking about. When I go to the doctor, I have absolutely no idea how much any of this costs. I'm just like, well, how much out of pocket do I have to pay? I
Right.
don't know what my insurance is paying. Is it paying 500? Is it paying 1,000? I don't know. But if I had a price list, and I could go to a website to say, well, this is what I'm looking to get done. I'm getting a checkup, and I can just say which one's the least expensive. I'd take into consideration the quality also somehow. But, if I could do that, then you're going to put a little bit of downward pressure on prices. And we don't even do that. So yeah, that's the least we can do. But,
Yeah,
but
it
anyway,
can. If the money was in your account, if you were given $10,000 a year to spend on health care, and you had to go to the doctor, and any amount of that healthcare money that you don't use that year gets put into the next year, and you get another $10,000. So if you use 5,000, you now have 15,000 next year.
hmm
You become a shopper, and
yeah.
you will force the market on the healthcare business, because now you're going to start to say, wait, I'm writing the check. And even
hmm
if you're given the money, as long as there's an incentive for you to shop, because there's an incentive that if you get the best price for the best quality, that it can help you in the future next year. And it just accumulates, so that if there is a bigger issue and you want to get your knee done, in 3 years or 10 years from now, you have $100,000 in that account just for health care. You're
hmm
easily paying for your yearly exam, and now you might be able to pay for your knee, and you probably would, because doctors would then say, okay, all these people with hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they need a knee, I might cut my price to, currently it's $50,000 a knee, and it,
hmm
takes me an hour's worth of work, and, the material is XYZ. I'm going to cut my price. This year, we're going to have a special on knees. We're going to have a special 35,000. And now you have 150 in your account, and you
hmm
need a knee. You buy a knee, right?
yeah.
So
hmm
it's no different than going to the grocery store. It's no different than buying a car. It's no different than buying a house, except the system we're in is not designed to incentivize the consumer to shop. And
hmm
and there are enough healthcare organizations out. I think here in Colorado Springs, there's 4 or 5 hospitals. You've got a number of different medical groups. There's plenty of potential competition out there. And if people had bank accounts with their healthcare money in it, and they start shopping, these people start putting price lists up, and people can go online and they can check the quality. How does this rate on, on the Google, Google reviews. And,
Mm-hmm.
people already do look at doctors when they're looking to change primary care physicians. People look up their reviews all the time. That's
Yeah.
being done right now. So now just take that one step further and let's go to the price mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are great and they're a little bit cheaper. Or
Mm-hmm.
they're great and they're worth the extra money that I'm going to spend out of my account, sitting
Mm-hmm.
in my bank account. I can't spend it on anything else, but I can keep spending it on healthcare. And
Mm-hmm.
and so something as simple as that can drive costs way down. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be driven down by giving everybody free healthcare. When something becomes free, what happens? Demand skyrockets, right?
That's right.
And
Mm-hmm.
and there's either scarcity or there's scarcity and the price goes up. So
Yeah.
so it's just basic economics. So we just have to move it, but it's one of those things that people get very emotionally connected to it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the Democrats are really good connecting the emotion to healthcare. But that's not going to fix it for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Well,
mean to get off on healthcare, Ken,
no,
but
no, no, that's okay. I do want to make sure that we get to a couple of the other
okay, yep.
stories out there. Do we have time for
Yeah,
we have a little bit of
yeah,
time?
yeah,
Just wanted to get your take on in Australia.
yeah,
Apparently, there was a Hanukkah celebration, and you had a couple Muslims went there and with some guns or rifles, I don't even know, and I think they shot what about or they killed somewhere around 15
yep,
and injured, I'm sure, a lot more. One thing I'd like to point out, and then I'll pass it on to you. I found it. I don't know if it's scary. It's not funny. Tragic. I don't know. Is the Prime Minister of Australia, when he talked about what needs to be done, he talked about more gun control.
yeah,
And I'm just thinking to myself, we have a man who came here from wherever. He's a Muslim, hates Jews, doesn't like Christians either, but Australia has a population of 900,000 or so Muslims, and that has skyrocketed over the last 10 or so years. And they kill all these Jews, and his first response is, "Oh, it's the guns problem."
yeah,
And I'm just thinking to myself, if you think that situation is a problem because of guns, and if you don't recognize the fact that Islam and Muslims do this and have been doing this around the world for a long time, if you don't recognize that, you are a fool.
yes.
But they want to ignore the I don't know, the
The
nose on
elephant
their
in the room,
face,
yeah,
the elephant in the room. It's if we don't recognize that Islam is a religion of violence in many cases, not everybody that's a member of the Muslim religion is violent, but it is a religion that promotes violence. And the leader of that religion, Muhammad, wanted his followers to do exactly what these two people did. And until we come to grips with that, this is going to continue to happen all over the world, Rich. And so with that, I'll pass it back to you and get your take on it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me that the Prime Minister of Australia, and then he said something about right-wing extremists. We got to watch out for those people
Oh,
too.
jeez.
And it's like, come on. There's this. It's kind of in the world of liberal guilt. There's this virtue signaling that all religions are equal and not all religions are equal. And all you have to do, take the religion out of it and just categorize people who kill people. And you just look at how many how many incidents of terrorism we have and what religion does it come from. So
Mm-hmm.
you look at the behavior and you look at what is being done, and you can't come to any other conclusion except that the Islamic culture does not have any cannot coincide with any other culture. Their goal is to dominate, and it's to submit. It's get people to submit to Islam,
Mm-hmm.
and why don't people believe them when they say it? Their leaders are saying it. And to your point, not all Muslims are violent people, far from it. But the religion promotes violence and promotes dominance and promotes the the second class citizenry of
Mm-hmm.
anybody who isn't doesn't follow Islam, and the second class citizens of women who don't have the same rights in the religion,
Mm-hmm.
and they think killing gay people is something that is acceptable to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's despicable that we don't listen to what they say. And they are very good at, when you listen to some of their leaders, when they open up and talk on these shows and say that they are just simply coming in and they're going to use our good hearts and
Mm-hmm.
our lack of willingness to hold them accountable against us. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just going to keep going until somebody pushes back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, we need to wake up, and this is just another example of, you know, Islamic terrorism, and it's happening everywhere. They are migrating throughout the world,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the results. And we're going to get. They just stopped a New Year's Eve massacre here in the States. 4 Muslim terrorists were going to attack a New Year's celebration in Los Angeles, and they caught them before anything happened. And so what are we why aren't we facing this? I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
politicians, and it's just the reality is we've got to stop allowing them into the country. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to deport anybody that has those views and move them on out.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do want to bring up another issue. It's in Brown University. Brown University had somebody who shot up a classroom at the very least. I think 2 people were killed, a few other were injured. They haven't found this person yet. And I don't know the history, or I don't know. We don't know exactly why it happened. One thing I will say is that one of the people who were killed was the leader of the National College Republicans at Brown University. And I'm not saying at this point that it was for political reasons. Uh, it could
Although,
have been.
yeah,
We,
that's
we, we
you
will
look at
find out.
yeah, you look at the evidence, but it's kind of interesting that the head of the Republican Student Council or whatever student movement there was killed. You gotta
Yeah.
it's part of the facts. You got to look at it, and we'll see when all the smoke clears.
Yeah, but I do want to take this opportunity just to talk seriously about what's happening in the country when it comes to political violence. And what we see happening time and time again is that conservatives are being attacked. And I personally do think that it's kind of a systematic attack. It's deliberate, it's ideologically motivated, it's organized, I would say also. And I'm going to go out on a limb. This might be too outrageous or extreme, but I'm really tired of Democratic leaders dog whistling to a lot of their followers. Um, we had, you have BLM, you had Antifa, and I really do think when these Democratic leaders say things like, Trump is destroying democracy, he's a Nazi, I really think they know how that's going to be interpreted by their base.
Hmm.
And their base, for whatever reason, has a lot of people with mental health issues. We saw it with the person who tried to kill Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. We
Hmm.
saw it when the person was prepared to shoot Trump on Trump's golf course. We saw it with Charlie Kirk. We've seen it time and time again. And I think we need to speak out against this, and we need to, the responsible Democrats need to stop with this rhetoric about Nazism, about Hitler, and about all this stuff, because their people, their followers, are taking them seriously. And so, again, I don't know if this Brown University situation is a part of this. Good chance that it is, but this has got to stop. And we need to start calling out Democratic leaders when they are speaking in these terms that really rouses their rabble
Yeah.
to do very violent things.
Yeah, the dehumanization of people, where that rhetoric you're talking about dehumanizes, and if the president is truly a Nazi, then that justifies in people's minds, oh, if he's Nazi, we should be able to do anything to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
If the Republicans are stealing democracy, or they're going to create a dictatorship and stop all elections, that's something that motivates people that don't have a full grasp of their mental capabilities to
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, I'm going to save democracy." Um, I don't think the rhetoric's going to stop, Ken. I agree with you that they're dog whistling, but they know what they're doing. And this is their tactic, and this is who they are, who they've become. They are not your father's Democratic Party. They
Mm-hmm.
are a subversive, outright rebellious party that is trying to undermine the entire foundation of the way this nation was structured, and they're looking to blow it up and go into a true full-blown democracy, which would be the end of everything that we know to be sacred to us, that has kept us the exceptional nation of the world. They are truly subversive in the sense that they're trying to destroy our government. I have no doubt about it. So when
Mm-hmm.
you say you're saying that's extreme, I think that's just observation. That's good
Mm-hmm.
observation. You're listening to what they say. You're watching their behavior. You look at what they've done to people who are trying to maintain the system, like the president,
Mm-hmm.
and anybody conservative, anybody constitutional. They're trying to, undermine all the values that we, ascribe to, that have made this nation great, and they're making us look like the radicals for wanting to
Mm-hmm.
maintain a society that we have. And they're just going to do it no matter what. They'll do it through violence. Their
Mm-hmm.
ends just they go by the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
And so they will. This is a revolution taking so far. There's uh just episodes of violence, but they are on the brink of having bigger clashes. You're seeing it in the ice raids. You're seeing,
Yes.
those kinds of things. You're seeing it with the Islamic community. They're trying to, all these little non-assimilated um, uh, communities are undermining the Somalian community with Omar. She's, these people are trying to take from us what we have created. They're trying to
Mm-hmm.
undermine Western civilization. They've been very successful in Europe, and
Yes.
they're we're just a bit bigger, a bit more structured, and we have more people that understand what they're trying to do. So
Mm-hmm.
so they have a bigger enemy here, like me and you, who point out exactly what they're doing. So it's harder for them to just plow people over.
Yeah.
And, thank God for the 320 million guns that we have in this country,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that is one of the reasons that we don't see things happening more often, like
I
we
totally agree.
saw in Australia. So you're not. I don't think you're radical at all. You just have to look around, and if you look hard enough and you understand who these people are, what they say they want to do, they are trying to destroy the fabric of this nation. That's all there is
Yeah.
to it.
No, and doing a little bit of research, the Nazis had the brown shirts. And when I looked up the definition of brown shirts, it talked about they would harass, intimidate political opponents. They engaged in street violence. They attacked people in their homes. Mao Zedong in China had the Red Guard. They were mostly university students. They also harassed and publicly shamed people who disagreed with them. They destroyed statues, property. They were violent, of course. Stalin had the Young Communist League, who did the same thing. And when I read those, I was like, are these any different than what the Democrats have with BLM and Antifa and the TDS zombies that we have out there, or the paid activists? And we have so many people with mental problems that the Democratic Party seems to be, or leftists, maybe I should say, leftists are using these people with mental health issues to be these attack dogs. And, it just really struck me, when I read about the brown shirts and the Red Guard and the Young Communist League, that this is very darn close
Oh,
to what
absolutely.
we're experiencing here. And, these people they want to destroy the America that you and I know and love, the Constitution, our culture,
Individual liberty,
individual liberties. Yeah, the
individual
whole thing,
property, all that.
all
Absolutely.
that stuff.
Yep.
So we need to stay vigilant, and we need to speak out against these people, and we cannot let them we have to take them seriously. I think that's maybe the
Yep.
most important thing, is we take them seriously, and then we treat them appropriately.
Exactly.
We don't say, oh, that's just this,
Yeah.
left-wing lunatic. Yeah, it's a left-wing lunatic who has some, historically, we've seen what these left-wing lunatics have done to the societies that they lived in.
Yep. And then that's a good note to end on, Ken, and taking it into our Christmas season and enjoy our Christmas holiday and reestablish all those important things that we believe in, and just refresh for the new year coming up, because I'm sure that it's going to be a big battle that we're going to be facing with the midterms and the continued violence that is happening in the country, with this kind of movement that's going on from the left side of the aisle. And of course, TDS. We're going to have to find a cure for TDS.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Ken, it was good to talk with you. Next week is Christmas, so I think we're going to probably take next week off.
Sounds good.
And we'll see you in the new year, and we'll see everyone. And thanks for taking some time out of your day to listen to Hands on Politics. Couple of brothers from the Bronx talking about issues of the day, and we established the Bronx Institute. And we what do, Ken? We rout out the lies of the left-wing media and make politics.
We make politics understandable for those who want to understand politics. Yes,
absolutely. So thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you in the new year. And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Ken, same to you, and Sherry and the family.
Same to you. Yes, Merry Christmas.
All righty. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care, Rich.
Take care.